I was always thinking my talent will be enough, but it's not enough. And now I'm thinking, why you don't work more? Why? I was stupid.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Grid with me, Tom Clarkson. My guest this week is a French Formula One legend, a super-fast driver who's synonymous with Ligier, having spent 9 seasons racing for Les Bleus, but he also raced for Williams and enjoyed much success. His name? Jacques Laffite. Jacques was one of the sport's great characters of the 70s and 80s. Mischief was never far away. But don't let that take anything away from his raw speed. On his day, no one was faster than Jacques, and he won 6 races, took 7 pole positions and 32 podiums. He got his F1 break with Frank Williams in 1974, and incredibly, he finished on the podium at the Nürburgring Nordschleife just 1 year later. He then swapped allegiance to Ligier for 1976, and there began a partnership that proved unbreakable. Guy Ligier and Jacques were like 2 peas in a pod, and they didn't only represent Ligier in Formula One, they represented France. The high watermark in their relationship came at the start of 1979, when Jacques won the opening 2 races of the season. He could and should have challenged for the world title that year, but the pace of the JS11 dropped off, and Jacques finished 4th overall, 15 points behind world champion Jody Scheckter. Ligier were quick in 1981 as well, but there was still no world title, and Jacques returned to Williams for a second stint in 1983, before seeing out his career at his spiritual home of Ligier. But Jacques was much more than just a racing driver. He was a lover of life, and his fishing rod, tennis racket and golf clubs were never far away. He even showed up in the paddock at Dallas in 1984 wearing his pyjamas, more of which you'll hear about later on in the podcast. A more colourful character would be hard to find, and Jacques lost none of that va-va-voom even at the age of 77. We talk about the highs and the lows of his career and everything in between, and he's unbelievably honest in his observations. Now, he tells us right at the start that his English isn't good, but it's more than good enough to understand his wonderful story. I hope you enjoy our conversation. Jacques, it's lovely to have you on the show. Thank you for your time. First of all, how are you? Where are you in the world?
Je suis à Paris. Je vais très bien. Je suis en bonne santé. I'm in good health. I'm living near Paris, 40 kilometers in Montfort-la-Maurie, in France, in the 78.
Oh, it sounds lovely. And how is your English these days, Jacques?
It's the big shit. It's always shit. Really. No, it's difficult for me to speak English, to explain exactly what to ask, because I have not all the words in my vocabulary to answer very well.
You're sounding perfect, Jacques.
Yeah, thank you.
You're near Paris. I am in Paul Ricard. You must have some very happy memories of Ricard.
Ricard, I won my second race in Formula Renault in 71, long time ago. And I do some Grand Prix here. I was in pole position in 1980 with Didier Pironi, like my teammate. And I have a good memories. The only thing was bad for me. It will be a big pleasure for me to win this French Grand Prix, but unfortunately, I finished 3rd.
You got 3rd in 1980,
yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
Jacques, it's 35 years, would you believe it, since you retired from Formula One. How do you reflect on your career?
Really, I'm happy with my career. I have no regrets, but it will be fantastic if I can be world champion with Guy Ligier, with the mechanics and all the team, because we work very hard, a long time with Guy and with all the people, the team. And unfortunately, I think I was not working enough. I remember all the Formula One champion are people working very hard during the day. Me, I was going to play golf, play tennis, and I was... No, really, I think it's if I have something to regret, is maybe I need to work much more with the team.
Talking about your commitment to your team, Did Formula One consume you in the way that it did other drivers? I remember Carlos Reutemann saying that he used to put a helmet at the end of his bed so that the first thing he thought about in the morning was Formula One. When you weren't at a racetrack, did you think about Formula One?
Yes, not enough. Since Thursday until Sunday, you must be concentrated on what you are doing for the weekend. But me, if we have a meeting after the practice, and after 1 hour, I had enough to stay there. And I said to the team, okay, I'm going to play golf. And I come back tonight. And I come back tonight and said, when the mechanics saw me, they said, okay, what we need to change again? Because when I was playing golf, I was thinking about my practice, and suddenly something arrived. Say, man, I forgot to tell them that I want this suspension. So I come back and the mechanic say, okay, what we are going to do for the night? I say, this and this. Thank you very much. Voilà.
What did your team principals say about you always being on the golf course? What did Guy Ligier say? Did he mind you going away?
I was so well with the team and with Guy, and it authorized me to do something that was not good for the team, But I was nearly sure that I have no problem with Guy.
Let's talk some more about Ligier. You're synonymous with that team. You race for them for 9 seasons. Did you have opportunities elsewhere, or can you just explain your loyalty to Ligier?
Well, I won my first Grand Prix with Guy Ligier in 1977 in Sweden. And I stay on this team because it was a French team. We have a lot of popularity in France. I have a good friendship with Guy. I have no pressure about him, And I don't think when I go to Frank, for example, it was completely different. It's a good team. I love Frank, but it was much more difficult for me to do what I want on this team.
He was a hard taskmaster. But
yeah. I stayed 6 years in England because I was driving for Frank, and I was saying to everybody, English and England is a fantastic country. I was so happy to be there. And it was a little bit not so good with Frank because Frank is a man very hard, but he was so difficult when I was with him in 1975 and 74 that when I arrived in 83, I go with him only to have the turbo engine because I was sure if Ligier has no engine turbo, it was impossible for me to win a race. So I signed with Frank only not only for that, but he was world champion with Keke in 82. So it was a good team for me, but I was really disappointed to be there for 2 years. It was strange.
Jacques, what were the main differences between Williams and Ligier?
One point, another point. In English team, it's straight. You can do that, and we do it. But with Guy, we can change the setting of the car from Monday to Wednesday. We decide to have this opportunity to try. And when I arrive on the track, I say, but we decide this. But no, we decide another thing, but nobody tell me. With Frank, it was always straight and no problem. They decide to do that, we do that, Even if it's no good, we do it anyway.
From a racing team point of view, was the French mentality better or the English mentality?
English, no problem. I'm sure of that.
Why?
It's difficult for me to say in English, but in France, we are light, we are, okay, we do that, we smile too. With Frank, with the team English, we decide. I tell you something, when I was testing in 83, when I come back to the first test in Imola, I arrived with a plane. There is a lot of cloud. It was impossible to land at Boulogne. So we wait 1 hour to turn, and suddenly they said, okay, you can land. And I arrived to the team. I opened the little door behind the team, and when I entered, it was like that. All the teams, voilà, that's the difference. I was okay with that.
Frank told me once that you were always late. Is there any truth to that?
No, yes, he's right, but not always. Sometimes I was on the team, and I was behind a wall, and Frank was on the wall and was waiting. Say, where is Jacques? Where is Jacques? I was there ready with the helmet, and at the end, immediately when they start, they give green light, I jump on the car, and Frank will fuck you, But no, I have a good time with Frank and Patrick Head, really, on the team, but I think it's better to think like that you say, with Frank, I will do that, I will know. I do what I can, and the team do what they can for me. Not always correct, but it was okay. I'm not complaining.
Your two stints with Williams were 10 years apart, weren't they? Frank gave you your chance in Formula One in 74 and then in 75, and then you returned to the team in 83. How different was the team in 83? How much had it changed?
But there is more money. I was never paid by Frank. I don't ask anything. I stayed between 75 and 83 was huge, enormous difference. Enorme. It was a real team with a chef, with an engineer, with money, Formula One changed so quickly. So.
Did you just say Frank never paid you in 74 or 75?
Yeah, but I was okay because I was in Formula 2. I take some money from Formula 2 and Le Mans and everything. So I don't need money, but it was not my first interest to earn money. It was my interest, but to go in Formula 1, to try to have the best team with me, even if I was not paid, it was not a big problem on this time. Today, it was certainly completely different.
I get the impression that you enjoyed winding Frank up, because do you remember Dallas 84, when you turned up in the paddock for practice in your pyjamas?
Yes.
What did he say to that?
He was upset. All the team was upset.
You have to explain the story. What time was practice that day?
Je pense 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30. The track was too hot, and the tires had big problems. So they decided to do this, and I said with Alain, I say, what can I do? I go to the shop, and I ask for pyjamas, bonnet like that, and I came with a golf cart to the team, and I was, voilà. It's a joke, but...
And what about Patrick? I'm trying to imagine what he would have said.
I don't remember what he said. I tell you that I remember that they were completely upset. But I think more Frank than Patrick.
Yeah.
I think, but I don't remember so well. It's so long time ago.
That second stint at Williams, 83, 84, was the Honda Turbo. It was the early days of the turbo engine, wasn't it? What was it like to drive?
We have the turbo in 84. I don't test before, and I go to sign with Frank because they have the turbo engine. And I knew that Ligier will not have it before 2 years. So I was thinking, when Frank asked me to drive, I said, okay, because I knew they have the turbo for 84. But unfortunately, I do all the year in 84 with the turbo, sometimes less than Keke on the pressure, less. And I have many races on my engine, boom, as a problem. So I was the test driver for Honda. but I don't care. Huh? I accept it because he was like that. I don't care.
And what about Keke? How quick was he that year?
He was quick, Keke, no way. You know what's strange with Keke and on the team? My engineer was Patrick Head. Who is my engineer? I don't remember the name. We are talking on the motorhome, each side, one side left with Patrick and Keke, and me, I was on the right with my engineer, and we never talked together. I was speaking with my engineer, but never with Keke. And
why?
Why? I don't know why. First of all, because my English was shit, like today. Worst, you can imagine what it was in 83, but anyway, partage of problem, we don't speak too much together. Even with Keke. I like Keke, he's a good guy. Really, we have a good friendship after, but in 84, it was difficult for me.
It was born out of competitiveness. He didn't want to give anything to you. Is that what it was?
I think, when you go in a team, you say we are the same level than the other team, the other driver. But I'm sure I have not the same engine and same things than Keke. I knew because my engineer, but this engine, for example, in 83 with the Ford engine, when I asked my engineer to change my engine, he said, no, this engine is not quicker than the other. And I have an engine shit, really shit. But what can I say? Frank decided, I said, okay, I tried to do my best with what I have. But it was difficult, really. I don't remember, I remember very well these 2 years. It was not bad years for me, but about my competitivity too, it was really low, and I don't care, but evidently I have not the same car and the same engine that Keke. I'm sure of that.
Well, look, let's talk about some of your other teammates. Were you the kind of driver who could be friends with a teammate? Okay, Rosberg didn't want to be, but did you have friends who were teammates?
I will tell you something. I have friends with all the French drivers. Have night together, dinner, lunch, and soon they are on the team with me. We separate immediately. There is a competition, and to be better, it's better to go out of your friendship with Patrick Depailler, with Pironi, with Jabouille, with Shiver. It makes a difference. With Patrick, for example, in 78, we are all travel in the world together, and when soon we are in the same team.
Just so competitive, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's normal. I can kill him if I want.
Jacques, the 70s and 80s was a real purple patch for French racing drivers. There was a dozen really quick drivers. Can you just describe the vibe among you back then? How much fun did you have? And why were there so many of you? How had you all got through to Formula One at the same time?
I think Elf, Renault, Alpine, BP, P for Formula France, Formula 2, Formula 3. And there are a lot of young drivers arriving with a driving school in Winfield. You have a driving school in Paul Ricard. You have a driving school in Nogaro. You have a driving school in Le Mans. So you have many young and talented drivers arriving. And you have the money. When Frank asked me to drive in 74, he was thinking, we will pay for him. The Count Zanon give me 2 engines and many things like that. But we are talented because you have the formation before and after us. It was a Spanish driver, after a German driver, the Italian driver suddenly arrived. We turn like that. We are there, and now we are there, and now we start to, with Gasly, Ocon, and we start to be a little bit better.
Who was the fastest teammate you ever had?
Didier Pironi. He was not only quick, he was more political than me, and he's enough importance in Formula One to be a little bit political. Like that, me, I don't care. I go my way. But he was so quick.
And not just in his team either. Do you remember he got involved with the drivers' strike?
Yeah.
He was a spokesperson.
What I said to you, he was more political than me.
Well, Jacques, while you were playing golf or on the tennis court, was Didier staying behind with the team?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, that's normal. I mean, but I don't like to do that. But he was, yes, he was exactly that. But I was enough quick. Even if I don't go for 2 or 3 hours to discuss with my engineer, I go. Alors, I was thinking very often about this, and I said maybe when you are talented, vous avez du talent. I start to drive at 25 years old. I never drive before, and I have certainly a good talent. I was always thinking my talent will be enough, but it's not enough. I remember, and now I'm thinking, why you don't work more? Why? I was stupid. Why did Ligier don't tell me, stay there 2 hours more to work?
It's funny, isn't it, that 35 years later, you're thinking, if only I'd done more. And I find it interesting that you weren't thinking that at the time.
Because I am a little boy and grew up very slowly. And now I think, because I'm old, I have time to think, because I play less golf, less tennis, less bicycle, less ski and everything. So I stay a lot in my car or in my bed and thinking, I was stupid or not. And I was a little bit stupid, but maybe it's for that I was quick also, so it's difficult to complain about that.
As you say, you didn't start racing until you were 25. Had you started, let's say, 10 years earlier, do you think you would have been a better racing driver?
No, if I started to drive before, no, I don't think so. I was young enough to when I was 31 years old, when I was in Formula One for the first time, I was old for the team manager, but for me, I was young. I stay until 43 years old. So if I was not have an accident, maybe I have 2 or 3 more seasons with Guy or another team, I hope. But no, I think, it changed nothing. First of all, because there is no kart. When I was 25 years old, there is kart, but it was not à la mode. Today, I saw a reportage about Verstappen, and he was racing at 4.5 years old. It means when I start racing, you will have 18 years more than me about racing. So how I can compete with him? It's impossible.
So while the young guys today are karting from the age of 4, what were you doing until you were 25? Were you doing sport or were you doing a completely different job?
No, I was following Jean-Pierre Jabouille on all this race in R8 Gordini Formula 3. I met a guy, say, why you are not racing driver? Say, because I have no money. Say, okay. This guy, I help him to go to Le Mans, and he has a car driving by Jabouille. And they said, okay, I will buy you Formula France to race. And I said, well, if you want. And in this same year, he said, I'm going to do the driving school in Manicourt. You must come with me. I say, oh, why? Finally, they said, we are going to the Ferrari, with my Ferrari, and you will drive the car. I say, okay, I come. And at the end of the session, I have a car, Formula 3 Winfield, to start. It was really simple. I don't ask anymore. It was.
And as soon as you drove a single-seater for the first time, that was it for you, was it? You then knew what you wanted to do?
My first 3 laps in Manicourt with the Lotus, at l'époque, it was a very wide car, and anyway. And I stopped after 3 laps. I think it was Tico Martini or Simon de Le Tour. I don't like it at all. Say, Jacques, you must try a little bit more because you do only 3 laps. And finally, I go to the finale. And if I can tell you something about the finale, maybe I have a big shoes. And I forgot to put before the test, to put my racing shoes. It was the name of the shoes was Clark. You remember this Clark? Maybe not, you are too young. But anyway, when I brake, I go and I touch the accelerator with my foot and arrive in the turn. And I turn the wheel very quickly and I go like that, flat, whoa, and the people say, Jacques is so quick. But I don't say it was because I have big shoes. No, voilà.
What a great story. But once you'd done that, did you get the racing bug, or were you still the reluctant racing driver?
No, I was 25 years old. I have a girlfriend, my first wife. I have two children with her. And I say, I am 25. It's time to do something, to earn money. And I say, when I finish the school, I say, it seems I am good on this, so I will go on. And I will go on. Voilà. My idea was that. But I never think when I was 18 years, 16 years old, 5 years old to be a racing driver. It was impossible for me. I have no money. I say, how can do? You must, in the year of 60, 70, you need money to buy a car. And this money comes not a lot of sponsors, so you come from your family or a big rich friend or something like that. So my interest was Jabouille. I was following Jabouille, but Jabouille has enough money to buy his car. I don't think about it, never. Except when I finished the racing school, I was second behind Salomon. I said, yeah, I think I'm good on this, but I will go. And I start and say, well, I will try.
And then you motor through the ranks. And as we've discussed, you make your debut with Williams at the Nürburgring in 1974. How did that opportunity come about with Frank?
When I won the race in Salzburg in Formula 2, and Frank called me and said, Jacques, please could you drive my car in the French Grand Prix? I said, why not? But before that, I go to see Tico Martini with a picture of the car and everything. And Frank and Tico said me, ask to have a test in England with Arturo Merzario was driving the car. It was in Goodwood with a fast corner. And also I said to Frank, Arturo will go, he makes the time, and me, if I'm not too far from this time, I will come. And I don't remember the time, but I go with with tires and everything. And say, okay, you look good. And I say, okay, I'm going to the Nürburgring. The Nürburgring, 23 kilometers. I did 5-6 laps with Henri Pescarolo.
What, sat next to him?
Exactly. To see, he's flat, but you must think about these trees. You must go straight on the tree. If not, you go out and you jump up, et vous tombez, and you fall like that. And after Saturday night, after that, I was trying to eat, and I cannot open my mouth.
So you couldn't open your mouth because you were so tense?
So tense, yeah. It's incredible.
Wow.
I was, merde, shit, what happened?
Now, unfortunately, your race at the Nürburgring only lasted, 2 laps because you had a suspension issue.
Yes.
But what impression did Formula One make on you that first weekend?
I was so happy to be in Formula One, but the car I cannot say if the car was good or bad because I have no experience. The only thing I do my best with this car. And I was 13 or 14 to the practice, not far from Arturo. And I was not happy with that, but I start, so I see the first race in certainly the worst track for a young driver like me in Formula One. And I did my job.
What a place to make your debut.
Yeah. It was, yeah. No, it's incredible. But I think it was okay. I have no accident, and it was okay. And after Frank asked me.
And he asked you to come back the following year. And then, of course, you finished second at the Nürburgring 1 year later.
Yeah.
I know there were a few retirements ahead of you in that race, but to me, that was the race where you really arrived in Formula One. Is that how you saw it?
Yeah. Since that, every race I did in the Nürburgring, I was quicker than anybody. Formula 2 in a DTM, with BMW, I was doing 7-8 seconds quicker than everybody. It's a lot. Huh? When you see the start of the race, we arrived in the long straight before the paddock, and they saw me arriving, and nobody behind said, what happened? And suddenly, all the car arrived. So I was so happy for that, because for me, the track is, when somebody asks me, what is your best track in the world, I'll always say the old Nürburgring, because it was really a challenge to be quick there.
And after you'd finished second there in 1975, did the Formula One paddock wake up and offer you drives? Were there any opportunities elsewhere?
No, I don't remember. For me, I was stay with Frank. And when arrived the proposition of Guy to test the car in Paul Ricard, at the end of 75, I say yes to him because he asked me, he takes me like that, come. I say, no, I don't want because Jean-Pierre Beltoise has the car, there is only one car. What can you do? I come back from Japan. I say, I'm tired. So he said, no, you must come. And he offered me to drive the car. But if not, I will stay with Frank. Why not? I have no problem about that. In 75, I raced every weekend. So I was quick enough. I drove with Arturo, the Alfa Romeo prototype. I was in Formula 2 with the Martini. And I was in Formula 1 with Frank. So I raced since March to October every weekend. It was really busy. So I think nobody can beat me. I was too much training.
And because you'd arrived late to being a racing driver, all of that mileage, I guess, helped you in your development.
Well, yes, I agree with you. He helped me a lot. But, if I was doing Formula 1 at 20 years old, I never seen Formula One because I have not enough. I was too young in my thinking. When you have 31 years with a wife, maybe children after, you must think differently your life. In 20, when I was 20, I was everywhere. Night, day. So I was a bad boy when I was 20 years old. I'm not working at school. My parents was upset, and anyway. Jabouille helped me a lot.
What is the worst thing you got up to at school, Jacques?
One day I go back to my home where my parents were there. I open the door. My father come and said, "Paf, paf." I said, "Papa, what? Why?" And he showed me a letter with a check, and with the director of the school say, we send you the check because we have not seen your son for 2 months.
and where had their son been if you hadn't been at school?
I have a good life. My parents was fantastic. They let me go on to find my way. That's very important. My father said, you still have the jet and we say in France, the home to sleep and to eat. But if you ask me money, you go out. There is a door at home. You go to work. I say, yes, Papa, I go work. I never work. So anyway.
So, end of 75, Jacques. How did the opportunity with Guy Ligier come about? You had driven with him at Le Mans in 1973, so you knew Guy. Was his Formula One team set up around you? Was that his plan?
Guy told me, there is only one driver in France who don't call me to drive the car is you. So he called me and asked me, I come back from Japan, I was winning on Suzuka with the Formula 2. When he asked me to go, I said, no, Guy, I don't want to. He said, oh, you must come because you have a good season and you are in good form. So I want to see you on the car because Jean-Pierre Beltoise was not driving a lot the last year. So I want to miss. He was a tracknar. I mean, he decided already that I will be the driver. So Jean-Pierre Beltoise was out.
And did you feel guilty about not staying with Frank?
No, really not, because Guy was a French team. So for my English was much better to stay with Guy than to be with Frank. So first, and also they pay me. I don't tell you the price, but it was 20 000 euros, même pas. In this year, it was nothing really.
20,000 euros in 1976, Jacques?
No, it's not a lot. You cannot buy a house, you cannot buy a car. You cannot no, it's a joke. But anyways, it was a French team, and they have no visibility what happened to Frank in 76, 77. That he has no money. It was so difficult for him. It was difficult for me too to be there. But I always think about Frank. And if people say, well, Frank, Frank is my friend, and he's still my friend in anything because he gave me my first chance to be in Formula One. So I respect this choice of him. I was not happy when he had this bad accident, in Paul Ricard. For Frank, it was terrible.
Frank tells a funny story about the M4 motorway in the UK. You were driving with him from Heathrow to the Williams factory at Didcot, so it's your second stint with the team, and there's a long left-hand turn off the motorway on the M4, and Frank claims that you did it flat in a road car, flat out. I think it's junction 12.
That's normal.
Is that normal? Okay. So I think you were both fast drivers on the road.
On the road, I was maybe faster than in Formula One.
But look, so Jacques, back to Ligier. You go and do the Formula One thing with Guy. You're a one-car team. How was the team received in France by the media? Did you have a lot of support?
Yes. He's coming first in 77. I won the first race in Sweden. So it was the first victory for a French team with a French car. But the best visibility was after 79 when I won the first Grand Prix, in Argentina. And we come back in France. Every people think, there is a French team with a French driver. And they start Ligier maniac, Ligier. Many people everywhere on the road. No, I was so happy with that, because I think every time that when I spoke with you, for example, and these people watching this interview, and if there is 2 or 3 was going to see a Grand Prix, I will be very happy with that. You know what I mean? To convince people to Formula One is a fantastic sport and come to see us on the track. It's dangerous, but it's fantastic.
Well, look, you mentioned 79. As you say, you win the first 2 races that year. The JS11 Ligier, beautiful car. Did you think at that point you had a real chance of winning the World Championship in 79?
Oui, it's evidently because the car was so quick. I have a teammate like Patrick Depailler was a quicker guy too, and we stayed together. He was a little bit quicker one day, I was the other day, but we are very quick, so the team will be grow with us easily. Patrick has an accident. And I'll tell you something about the two first races. When we test the car in Paul Ricard, we are immediately flat on the fast corner, and the car was fantastic. But in the long straight, we touch like that, we boom, rebound. Say, why? And I spoke with Jabouille about that. He said, you must say to Ducarouche to change the bodywork below the car, this wing. Gérard said no. Like, evidently, if I say something, he said no anyway. You don't change nothing, And we asked to the guy at the factory to make two fly below the car, to make two in aluminium, because I knew that in Argentina and Brazil, you have a very fast corner. And if you are not fast enough, you cannot be good. So when you test the car the Thursday in Argentina, the Lotus was a little bit quicker than us. And I said to Gérard when we have a meeting, Gérard, I bring with me two different configurations of the wing. You are crazy. What is this? We do that. It's okay. Me, I will try it. And the day after, we are 1 second quicker than everybody. I say, well, you see, merci. Thank you, Jabouille. And so we go back,
What did Mr. Ducarouche say?
He was upset, but after two win, he must be upset, but I don't care. And the problem was the car was a little bit the weight of the car is a little bit important. So we do the same configuration of wing, but in plastic or something like that. And the wheel was moving like that.
It was flexing. The wing was flexing because it was plastic.
The car started to rebound. So I said, fuck, why was that? And we stopped, we watch, and it was in the good position. So we still, 4 months, we have a problem with that.
Right. And that is why you lost the World Championship, while you were sorting out that flexi wing.
Exactly. I don't know if I will champion, but I will, if I have no accident or nothing bad, I will be world champion, me or Patrick, because he was quick also. But we have soon we start. Guy Ligier destroys the bodywork. One day, I had enough. Do another one. In my first race with the new bodywork in Monza, I was nearly to win this race. I was catching the Ferrari, and I have a problem with my gearbox, so I stopped. But the car started to be quick, but he was too late. Frank have the new car with a fantastic. I was watching the car like that. C'est to Gérard, come on and see what she's. Okay, Gérard is very intelligent, clear, we know, but he has. When I say that, you can say yes, it's not no. I say, fuck you, me. I want to work. No. It's my job. And we lost. We lost the championship.
And that race, the race that you mentioned at Monza, is where Jody Scheckter clinched the World Championship, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was your best season for Ligier? We've talked about 79, 2 wins, but also 1981 was another very good season for you.
Yeah, 81 was fantastic. And what happened in 81? We have a new regulation. We ask to have the car 8 centimeters below no how you can with the skirt, we have the downforce, very important. If you leave the car at 8 centimeters, you have less downforce, so the car are less dangerous. So all the team use 2 springs for the shock absorber, the big one and the little one. The little one was this putting the car, soon you stop, the car jump, so pass under the truck. I asked, remember, with Gérard, said, why we don't use it? Because he said, it's forbidden by the regulation, but every team has it. So we lost Guy Ligier. I called Guy Ligier, Gérard, said, what? Guy Ligier said, okay, I will take care. He goes to buy some spring, put on the car, and say, we find the solution, we send you the spring. I said, okay, good. But the only thing was, Guy Ligier was 95 kilo, and me 54. So the 40 kilo different was the car was always like that. Alors, it's funny this story is funny, but it's the truth. So simple that. We lost the championship for shit. I mean, for 2 springs, and the car was quick enough.
You think the 81 car was quick enough to win the World Championship?
Yes, I'm sure of that. Yes. He missed 2 or 3 first race of the season. We have not using the car on the good position, so it was difficult to go very fast. But try, I go fast sometimes. If we can start the season with the 2 spring, I'm sure we are maybe not champion, but closer again. Because I was finished in Las Vegas, I was very close from the first place, but fortunately, Patrick Tambay, who was my teammate, had an accident. Normally, he must do stop after 15 laps, and the Michelin will try what happened with the tires, for Jacques, and say, stop Jacques or don't stop it. And Ligier don't want to stop me to change tires, and I go.
And you go backwards.
Yeah, exactly.
You had a mathematical chance of winning the World Championship still at that final race, didn't you?
Yes, absolutely. But ask to Jabouille, I jumped out of the car after each passing and say, what are you doing? Will you want to say, I don't want anything. Take care of my car. I'm going to play golf or fishing. I never take care of your car. I say, okay, if you want, I take another one. Because every people was behind me. Say, if I stay 2 hours in the circuit, every people say, Jacques, alors you think Jacques is sick. He wants to stop with that and he go fishing or play golf. Voilà. And I lost the championship, but we are not ready yet, unfortunately.
It's fascinating to hear you talk in such detail about the cars. And when you think about it, Jacques, the rate of development in Formula One during your career was unbelievable. I looked at the pole position time at Brands Hatch in the year that you started, 1974, and then compared it to the year that you finished, your last race in 1986, and the pole time was 15 seconds faster in 86. How difficult was it for you, the driver, to keep up with that rate of development? Did you have to change your driving style?
No, I don't think so. No, really. When you have a new car at the start of the season, you test it before. You say this one is better. This is better in fast corner. You have more. The engine is a little bit, but I think the most important thing was the track change. Was the tarmac and everything was new. The car. The tires was much better than the 75, so with Goodyear or Michelin or Bridgestone, I don't remember. Pirelli also. The car was really quick because the tires was much quick. You remember we have a very wide tires at this time, but you see every corner we are sliding. Every corner, fast corner, we are sliding like that. But I think the Formula 1 was quicker and quicker because the mechanics, the engine, and also all the other things, the computer, tous ces things, to work on the car was much, much better. We have the possibility to know exactly with, I don't remember the name, we know when you arrive, you have 30% at the front, 70 at the back. We can change it a little bit. So we have many information coming from the car. We have not in 75. 75, we are on the paddock in Nürburgring. The car was on the grass. The truck of Frank, we are eating on the truck, quickly speaking there, and my car was on the grass. And now you see, you have a motorhome. It costs 3 times or 4 times the price of a season of Formula 1 is in 80s. So that's the change, and Formula 1 follow, and it's quicker and quicker. Is what I miss in Formula 1 for me today. It's not the danger because we know it's dangerous, but all the track, you go to Spa. Every people said to me, Spa is a fantastic track. I say no. Everywhere was flat, so how we can do the difference?
Are you saying the cars have too much grip now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. And it was not really interesting. If I was a Formula 1 manager, I will ask to the team to don't speak to the driver during the race, to give information, because you must go a little bit quicker. But me, when I was running, I was a little bit quicker every lap. I was quick, because if not, we cannot win the race. Today is a strategy. I don't like the strategy because the strategy is made by the engineer, and engineer is not driving my car. So I won't decide what I am doing. For me, today, I'm sure I will not driving Formula 1. Not because I'm not able to do it, but because I'm not able to work with people like that. I cannot say, people say to me, you must do that, you must do that.
Jacques, you were unique.
No, I think that, but not so dramatically. As I mean, okay, everything changed. The life changed. You have the computer. We are. It was impossible for me and you to speak in 75 like that.
But Jacques, does the racing driver in you not want to at least have a go in a current car just to see what they're like, experience that downforce?
The car today, I was driving the Formula One of Alonso 10 years ago in Paul Ricard. It was the best gift that somebody gave me from my accident. I was so happy to see the competitivity of the car. You know, the palette to drive. You push, you brakes. He was stopping the car every time when you want. You turn, he's turning. The technology was fantastic, and you know, like every driver, we like to be in fast corner the quickest as possible. So today the car are quick everywhere, and it's really a challenge. But you see, when I drove this car, I was so happy. You can't believe I was like a new Jacques, you know. I was so happy. I did 30 laps in Paul Ricard. And I will ask, can I go to sleep? Because I was tired and go back tomorrow. I will be quicker again. No, it was fantastic.
How competitive were you in the car? Just out, because you'd been retired for 20 years by then?
I was quick enough. Everybody was surprised. You know, I start and I go 2-3 laps, very not slow, but move slowly to see what happened with the gearbox. They stopped me and said, "Go to see the engineer upstairs." I say, "Well, why?" Maybe I made a mistake. I don't care. I say, "Jacques, you want to have broken the engine?" I say, "No." Alors, if you want to work, you can go to 18,000 revs immediately. I say, "Thank you." And the year, boom, boom. My friend was there. Said, something happened. It's crazy. No, I was so not easy, but you know, to drive in Paul Ricard, it was easy for me because I knew I cannot go out to have a bad accident in Paul Ricard. They can do it, but not. I don't do that in Manicourt and another track. Never. Paul Ricard was perfect for me. I was not flat in the fast corner. I have no visibility. I put 2 cones and I drove immediately on the cone, and it was okay. It was a good fun.
Jacques, taking it back to your own career, which cars did you enjoy the most? The ones in the 70s with a screaming Matra V12? Or was it the ground effect cars? Or was it the turbo cars of the mid-80s? Which did you enjoy the most?
Well, I think the best thing was not the engine, but only the wing car. The car, you can go 200, 310 kilometers in Sign, in Paul Ricard, easy. I love the downforce. It was really a lot of change. My son arrived at the same.
What year are we talking about?
80, 79, 80.
79, so it's the ground effect. The ground effect cars are the one.
Ground effect. Yeah. For me, it was fantastic. I love it.
Was that sort of 79 JS11, was that the best car you ever drove?
Except the Renault de Alonso 12 years ago. But if not, I'm sorry.
Jacques, talking of some of those Ligiers, what about the JS5 of 1976? We called it the Teapot, didn't we?
Yeah.
What was that like to drive? Certainly looks spectacular.
It looks spectacular, but really changed nothing on my life. I don't remember if maybe it was a little bit worrying me when there is a lot of wind, you know, and side. The wind arriving with the big cheminée like that. But I think the cheminée, it was a good thing for the press and for the publicity, but it was not good for racing.
While you were with Ligier, how did the team change? You went from a 1-car team to a 2-car team, and then you started to get lots of French money supporting you. Why couldn't you produce a championship-winning car? We
are working on the way. It was not the good way. I mean, we are not enough strict. I told you before, we decided Monday, we have a meeting at the factory in Vichy to decide what we are doing for the next race, the speed, gearbox, everything. And Monday, I was leaving Vichy to go to Manicourt at 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon after 5 hours of talking with the engineer. And I arrived Saturday to test in Paul Ricard, and all that we do, I say, where is it? but we are going to the desk of Guy and we are drinking a Paul Ricard. And the engineer was a little bit speaking oddly when he decides something, saying, yeah, you must do it like that. And they changed because Guy want to change, but he's not an engineer, but he was the boss. So very often I say to my engineer, please say to Guy what you tell me 5 minutes ago. And the engineer was like that. Watch Guy, and said what you said before. Comme ça. That's the problem of the team.
Did you feel that you were the French Ferrari? Were there many similarities between what you went through at Ligier and someone like Arnoux or Pironi went through at Ferrari in terms of the politics?
No, I think the team are, how you say, French team, I mean, Italian, work a little bit the same, is Latin.
Well, the work ethic was the same, yeah. Between the French and the Italian way of working is the same.
Exactly. And Guy, you must remember also that every people think Guy was really rich, have a lot of money, but it was not the case. We have not enough money. Every year we say we need, for example, 2 million, and the sponsor say, okay, Guy and the engineer, with 180, it will be enough for you. I say, yes, it's okay, because if you have not this money, you close the factory. So that's the mentality, French mentality. If you have more money than the president of the sponsorship, it's not good. You know what I mean? They think we are enough intelligent to work with less money. No. In racing, if you have not the money, you cannot win. It's finished. And it was a little bit like that. In 80, 75, 70, you can finish a race like me in Nürburgring with a little bit of chance. But today, if you have no money and not all the things you need to wind tunnel and everything, you cannot win a race. It's impossible. You must work. And the people who was in front are people who has the most money to spend for the race. Mercedes, Red Bull, Alpine, Renault un peu, but Red Bull certainly.
Clearly, you were very comfortable at Ligier, but I believe you had offers to drive for McLaren. Why didn't you move, Jacques? Tell me why you didn't move.
In 71, when I was 31, after the Teddy Meyer called me and said, Jacques, maybe we can drive our car. And when I say I am 31 years old, he said, Jacques, you are too old for Formula One. I said, okay, I will go another place. Because when I start to race with Frank, I was sponsoring, you have Marlboro, was give me a lot of money, 10,000 francs maximum. McLaren was with Marlboro too, donc they mean, okay, but they say, no, you are too old. I say, okay, I will go another place. It was not difficult for me, but it was true. It was the truth. I was already too old for Formula One.
Well, aged 43 at Brands Hatch in 1986, you had that horrific accident at the start. How do you reflect on what happened then?
First, I always think the most dangerous part of Formula One is the start. I was always thinking that in my head since long time. It's much dangerous to start with a 26 car all together at 300 kilometers. And also it was my 176 Grand Prix. And every people was a picture with 176 Grand Prix. I say, fuck you. I don't care. And I have a bad weekend. I have a little accrochage with Keke Rosberg. My car was on fire the day after. All the weekend was not bad, but I don't feel it at all. I have a friend who told me at the start, Jacques, what do you say? I think I don't go very, very far. I don't feel this race because I have said about the 176 Grand Prix it was not important for me. But all my weekends, people they say that. And I started to have this shit accident because Mansell was miss his call to stay on the track. Every people there was like that. Boots the wall. There is a banderole. The banderole goes up. Johansson was there. Me, I saw the banderole. We are 170 kilometers. The banderole will go behind us. But Johansson told me, I was thinking it was a car coming for me. So he do big like that, touch me and go direct on the wall. Voilà. But of this accident, I remember one thing, I open my eyes, take out my helmet and say, oh, I'm very happy because I am alive. I'm alive. So maybe I have my legs in front of me like that. I say, maybe I will go on a chair like Frank or something like that. But it was a fantastic experience. Bad, but not bad because de toute façon, anyway, I will find the solution to stop Formula One. That was the case. I stopped there because this accident. But this accident, like many things arrive in your life, make me stronger. First time I go to the hospital, first time I stay in education, first time I go with a wheelchair, all that, you think the life was different after that because of the bad accident. You nearly to be dead. Ask to Grosjean what he was thinking on his car. I was nearly the case to say, oh, je vais revoir mes enfants et ma femme. Voilà, I will see again my wife and my children. Sorry, I say in France. But it was a shit accident. Nigel won the race because there is another start. He changed of his car. He sent me at the hospital a nice golf club with a bag and with a little word. Jacques, I hope we play together soon.
Nigel sent you that in the hospital. That's a nice message, isn't it?
Fantastic. Yeah.
You said that during that weekend at Brands Hatch, 176 races didn't mean anything to you. You were equaling Graham Hill's then record for the number of starts. But now, when you look back, are you very proud that you started 176 races?
Not especially. No. It's good because you are on the book, the 176. For me, it was a bad weekend for me.
Jacques, it was a very dangerous era that you raced in. Many of your colleagues were killed. How did you come to terms with the dangers?
When I said I don't love the dangers. Dangerous means you must be very careful everywhere, think about à droite, set, behind, left, right, behind, before, front. All your sons must work together. And when you drive and you can watch in your mirror, you can watch your front tires, your rear tires, you can do braking, accelerating, and on the wheel, the other on the gearbox. If you do that well, you say, pas mal, Jacques. Today you are in a good shape. It's very important.
How did the accidents of, let's say, Niki Lauda in 76, you were in that race and actually very quick at the Nürburgring that year. How about the accident of Gilles Villeneuve or Didier Pironi, your teammate? How did they affect you? Did you ever think of stopping Formula One as a result of that?
No, never. The only thing is when you have friends, because we are all friends, have a bad accident, you go back home and say, the day after you are in the factory and say, I must control this. It gives you more thinking about your car, about your racing, because you say, I must be better. I must to find the solution. Why? Niki has an accident. Gilles had a bad accident. No visibility. Pironi, no visibility. Lauda, he was fire saving by people, but I remember it was in 76. He come back to racing at Monza. In Monza, I do the pole position because of the possibility. So I was very proud. And I always think, I love Niki. And I always thinking, remember in 76, Niki Lauda in Monza. I have no memory about that. It's strange because he was there with the burn face, everything.
And the bandages. And
I never go. Yes, I never go to see what happened. I stand my position, but I'm afraid to say that. But why I don't remember? Because I think I back out of my my thinking. But Niki was incredible. Peterson, Monza, he was dead. I was going Sunday night to the country, and I go back to Paris quickly, not on the good field, but on the right. It's forbidden to drive. And I was there going very fast, and I was stopped by the police. I was 200 kilometers, and this is what I do. I say, I'm sorry, but I just want to learn that one of my best friends was dead, so I'm a little bit crazy, but I'm very sorry. Say, okay, go.
The police let you go.
When it happened, accident comes out, you believe that you must be more careful again. Careful about what I don't know, but I try to think to don't have an accident. That what can I do? what can I do? Gilles? Every driver think about that. I mean, but if you are afraid, you cannot race.
Welcome to a rain-lashed, absolutely soaking wet Ile Notre Dame circuit by Montreal. Laffite is almost home. Certainly not dry, but almost home. There's the checkered flag. There's the cheery wave from Jacques Laffite. It's Jacques Laffite's race as he goes round on his victory lap.
If I was to ask you which of your 6 wins was your best, would you agree if I said Canada 81 in the rain,
yes.
The most dangerous conditions?
Yes, and I tell you why. Because when I was driving for Frank in Austria in 74, it was raining. When Brambilla won the race, they stopped the race before the end. Me, I have a car with 4 shit tires because Frank had no money. And I was 14, I had no chance to have any point. So I stopped. I stopped because there is a race. I love it after. It was sport. I said I would like to the race to on board. And I stopped. Frank said, why you stop? C'est parce que I had enough. It's too dangerous. I don't want to drive for nothing. Stay in the car. I said, fuck you. And I go out. He said, it's finished to drive from your. I said, I don't care. And I go. I have a contract with Elf. He asked to Tyrrell to engage me the year after. And when Frank said to him, Jacques stopped because, why is Jacques stopped? Because he was afraid that I say no contract, it's finished. And I say, okay, I finish. I go to holidays with one of my friends. And 3 days after, there is a call from Frank, asked me to call him. Bon, Jacques, I think this will be good if you come to Zandvoort. I say, no, Frank. Puis I think, je suis con, I'm stupid. And it's good for me to go to Zandvoort. I say, only one thing, Frank. Could you say excuse me? Bon, alors si je dis pas, if you don't say excuse me, I don't come. I say, bon, I'm sorry, Jacques, and I go there. And why? I was so proud in 81 because I can say to Ken, hey, Ken, you see how I'm driving on the wet? Remember, 75? He remember very well.
Wow, how fascinating. Jacques, one last Frank story. US Grand Prix 1975. You didn't start the race. There's a story behind that. Can you tell us about it?
I have a problem with one eye after the warm-up lap. And I said to my wife, Bernadette, I have no liquid to put on my eyes. And Michel Leclerc, a French driver, was there. And he said to my wife, go to my bag. There is something to clean the eyes, okay. She goes, but I don't ask anything. She comes back with a bottle like that. It was a product to clean the visor.
So you needed eye drops, and she gave you a cleaning fluid.
Yes. So very strong.
Ow.
Very, very strong. So, and it was very nice because what is going, so there is behind the stand, there is a woman who give apple to the people who was there. And when she saw that, there is a robinet for water. She said, okay, stay there. A lot of water. And suddenly, I was blind with the size. It's coming slowly, dark. First year in Formula One, the chance to be in Formula One, and I have only one eye to drive. I was so disappointed.
So how long did it take for the sight in your right eye to come back?
Quickly. 3 days after for the station. Now maybe the problem I have with this eye, maybe it's because that.
Do you have a problem with the right eye now?
Yeah. Maybe it's for that, but it's so far.
We've talked about the differences between the English and the French teams and the mentality. Damon Hill told me recently that lunch for an English team was a couple of biscuits and a cup of tea, whereas for the French, it was a full spread of lunch with wine and meats and cheese. I was going to say, is that an accurate description of the differences between the two?
Yes, for the motorhome, yes. But I remember when with Frank, I was drinking tea, but I don't like to put milk on the tea. So the tea was very dark, very strong, and I don't know, but when you put milk, it is less strong, you know. And me, I was thinking, I was always like that, because the only thing we can drink on the motorhome, it was drink tea. Because I tell you another story. I have many friends, I have 2 or 3 friends coming at each Grand Prix. Frank told me, Jacques, please, don't bring your friend in the motorhome. I said, Frank, don't worry. 1 race later, we are all there drinking and playing cards. And Frank, no, I love Frank. He was a fantastic guy. And anything happened with him, I don't remember, because I won't remember only the good thing with him. And he gave me the chance to be in Formula One, and he stayed in my memory all my long life.
And would you get stuck into these big lunches and even have a glass of wine yourself?
Yes, 1 bottle. No. No.
Jacques, it's been wonderful to talk to you. Thank you for your time. Who on the current grid is most like Jacques Laffite?
Kimi Raikkonen. He loves to drink. He loves to fest. And Hamilton, I think, is a fantastic guy. They are all fantastic. They are all driving very well. You can see Russell, when he was driving the Mercedes, he was in front of everybody. So when you are Bottas or Hamilton, you cannot say I'm the best. You must say I have the best car. Because if you give this car to any other driver, not all, but a lot of them will be in front.
Do you think Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon are fast enough to be world champion in the right car?
In a right car, I think, but the problem for them is to have the right car. It must be difficult, because Gasly is quick enough. You see what he did with his car today is fantastic. Ocon has not a so good car, so it was a little bit more difficult for him, but he has a teammate like Alonso, who was very strong and talented, but sometimes he's in front. So, no, I think we have a good chance. More chance with Leclerc, I think, because he is with Ferrari. Gasly, with his car, what I said at the beginning, the French driver is coming, up and up. So there is in Formula 2 and Formula 3, very talented. What astonished me the most is the age of the young driver driving in Formula 1. You remember at 18 years old, you drive Formula 1 like people has 10 years experience. And like Verstappen, when you arrive in Formula 1, I say, bravo, because he was really attacking everywhere, in front, behind, dehors, everywhere, like we do. We stop to the pit, Graham Hill, tous ces gens-là. We start for 1 race, 300 kilometers, 1 set of tires, full tank. And we must go quicker and quicker. If you want to catch the man in front of you, you don't need to stop to somebody tell you what you are doing to be quicker than him, that's all. It was the only way to racing at this time, and I think it was, for me, much better, but I am, anyway, in admiration for all this young driver and this bloody car so quick. I love that, but I'm not sure. Driving is the way. And after driving is another day, is another thing. But I think they are too focused on the way. Maybe now, if you are not like that, you cannot be quick enough. Maybe that, but I cannot tell you because I am not driving anymore. Voilà.
So much insight, and it's been a joy to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'm very sorry to speak this bad English, because it's difficult to tell you exactly what I think really, because I don't find the words sometimes.
We understand, Jacques. Thank you.
Merci. Thank you very much. It was very nice to see you. Bye-bye.
I really love chatting to Jacques. He's such an engaging character, and he gave us so many stories and so much insight into F1 during the 70s and 80s. He was also very honest. I mean, how many drivers would admit that they wished they'd worked harder during their career? His thoughts on Ligier and Williams were fascinating, but the conversation was littered with little details that gave us fresh insight into that era of the sport. The pace of Didier Pironi, the competitive edge of Keke Rosberg, how he learnt the Nürburgring Nordschleife alongside Henri Pescarolo ahead of his debut there. Even Nigel Mansell sending him a message in hospital after his horrible accident at Brands Hatch in 1986. I could go on and on. Jacques, many thanks for your time. It was great to talk to you, and your English was fine. Certainly a lot better than my French. And thanks too to Margot for your help in setting up this chat. Before we move on, please remember to send in any stories or thoughts you have about Jacques. Did you see him race? Were you at Brands Hatch in 86 or even Montreal in 81? Let me know, and remember, I'll read out the best ones next week. Send them to me at Tom Clarkson F1 or use the hashtag F1BeyondTheGrid. Which brings me on to what you sent in about Ivan Capelli after last week's show. There's a lot of love for Ivan out there, and so there should be. He pulled up trees in that Leighton House March. S. Ferrara got in touch to say this. I had the chance to work for Mr. Capelli for almost 2 years in his next career, and let me tell you that he is an honest, kind, and awesome human being. It was a pleasure to meet him and to work with him. Thanks for your message, and I'm not surprised to hear this. Ivan's honesty came across in our chat, didn't it? He's just a great guy. And Mad Dim had this to say. All Latinos have great stories to tell, and what a story with Ivan, and what a sincere person. The stories of him and Ken Tyrrell were diamonds. Well, weren't they, Mad Dim? Ivan only did 2 races for Tyrrell in 1985, and he came away with some Uncle Ken gold from each of them. What a pity Ken's no longer around. Can you imagine a podcast with him? And Blade 3 said this. How fantastic to finally hear from Ivan after all this time. Great stories and insight into the politics and machinations of Formula One teams past. Probably equally relevant when looking around the current grid. Thanks for the memories. That's a lovely message, Blade 3. Thank you. And I'm glad you enjoyed the show. And finally, let's end with this from Derek. What a great podcast. I could have listened to Ivan Capelli all day. Best of all was when he was laughing so much he couldn't continue with his stories. He's got a very infectious laugh, hasn't he, Derek? In fact, he's got a very infectious personality. We all love Ivan. Well, we'll leave it there, and I'm sorry if I haven't read out your message. Thank you to everyone who sent the messages in, and I have read them all. Well, that's it for another week. I hope you enjoyed hearing from Jacques Laffite, and remember to send in your thoughts and stories on him. As ever, I'll be back next week with another great guest from the world of Formula One. So see you then. Beyond the Grid is produced by F1 in association with Audio Boom. Until next time, keep it flat out.